Hello everyone, welcome to episode 28 with live with Sirus Migration. My name is Ashani Yapa. I'm an Australian registered migration agent, and I've got Ashani Yapa right next to me, my wife. She's also a registered migration agent. So we're here to, as usual, discuss the updates and latest news and share our knowledge live with you guys in both YouTube and Facebook. So if you have any questions, we're going to answer it towards the end. So keep typing your questions under the on the description
and
section
if there
down
is
below.
anything, you can pick up the phone and give us a call. We are going to talk about yes, we won't answer your call live. We are not that advanced yet. So today's schedule is PMSOL, Priority Migration Skill Occupation List, and Employee Nominated Visas, which is kind of the hot topic and has a lot of opportunities for you there.
There's many new updates to discuss today. I don't know how we can fit it in the right time.
Let's try our best.
But we'll get three big topics. And
so PMSOL and Employee Nominated, I will talk about it, and then Isuru will talk about Tasmania opening.
Ooh, Tasmania came up with a
Yeah.
massive, really good migration program for 2021-2022 financial year. So we'll talk about it.
Yeah,
next
and then I will talk about New South Wales opening as well. They opened recently, about 5 days ago, and then we will touch base on business and investor visas.
We will talk a little bit in detail about 188B especially. 188B is the investor part, and we'll talk about the new updates and what was the major reformation we went through. So
and then we will talk about latest updates and what's happening with global talent independent visa. So that's our schedule for today. That's what we're going to talk about, and at the end we will answer the questions as much as we can. Sorry if we can't get to all of your questions. If so, please email us at admin@sirus.com.au so we can answer your questions within the next few days. Okay,
Australia is going through a major lockdown at the moment. New South Wales, Queensland, we all under lockdown. So Victoria is open at the moment. Our Victorian office is working in Suite 1, 529 Burwood Road, Hawthorne. So everywhere else, we in the office since we had to do this video, but majorly it's all locked down, and
hopefully it can go back to normal from next week. So without a without a delay, because we've got a lot to cover, I will start talking about PMSOL.
And I had my second jab yesterday, so I'm not gonna be able to keep talking for too long. So let's talk about PMSOL. The exciting news starts with the new three occupations coming into the list. Now it's 44 occupations. The latest occupation list includes
hospital pharmacist,
retail pharmacist and
industrial pharmacist.
So all starts with the 2515 ANSCO initiations. 2511, 251511, 12 and 13.
So these are the latest occupations added, but I do want to highlight what is PMSOL and how it impacts you. I will talk about PMSOL and employee nominated visas first, because I have had many inquiries actually. I really like these clients. They're offshore or onshore. They have an occupation on PMSOL. Mario, if you can please keep displaying the list. I really want people to get an understanding of this list and get their head around what kind of occupations are in there, sectors, and what are the actual occupations in there. So PMSOL, if you break it down, you can see that a lot of engineering is in there, IT is in there, health, of course, is in there, and there are some other electrical, civil, and all those engineers in there. So this is what Australia needs right now. So this is what they believe they need to come out of COVID-19 recovery. And this is like a golden list. These are the occupations that they handpicked to say that this is the priority in Australia right now.
So the direct impact of primary migration skill occupation list, or PMSOL, is for employee nominated occupations. So if you are an employer looking to be employed, or if you have a job offer or a sponsorship from an Australian employer, regardless whether you're onshore or offshore, whether you're in Australia or outside of Australia. If you've been qualified under one of these PMSO listed categories, this is highly related to you right now.
Yes, so if you have a job offer or if you're currently working for Australia, I had a client just this morning. He's offshore, but he has a company in Australia who's willing to sponsor him. So I'll just take him as an example. And he is eligible for subclass 186, which is the permanent residency, which means he has 3 years experience. He's got a skills assessment. His employer is willing to give him a job. Employer is eligible, which means we can possibly get him a visa within the next 6 months. And then even though the borders are closed, he can safely arrive in Australia because he is going to be working in one of the priority sectors.
Apply to get a travel exemption to travel.
That's right. So that is for permanent residency, and also for people who are eligible for subclass 482, or people call it TSS visa, used to be the 457. Your visa will also be given priority if your occupation is in this list. So what I want to actually tell people here is, if you're onshore and if you're already working, because if you're trying for skilled migration, most of the states pretty much want you to be working in that state in your nominated occupation. So if you're already here, if you're already working, you have an employer, go have a chat with your employer, see if they're actually willing to nominate you for one of these occupations. Because if it doesn't even have to be this occupation, this will be getting priority, but it could be in any of the occupation list, the MLTSS list or the short-term skilled occupation list. So my point is, go and talk to your employer, see if they're willing to sponsor you, because you're already working for them, and then you have to give them a commitment to be working for them for the next 2 to 4 years. That will make your skilled migration process much easier. So which means there is no point system. You don't have to get 65 points. You don't need to get 8 in each. In English, you
Very
don't need
English
to get...
depending on your occupation, coming back to it.
You probably only need about 5 in each band for 482 or 6 in each band for 186. So again, my point is, if for subclass 482, it doesn't even matter your age. You don't have to be under 45. And also, you don't need to do NATI. So you don't need to score 100 points or 95 points and lodge a EOI and wait for the state to nominate you. If you already are working and have an employer who's willing to sponsor you, I think you should go have a chat to them and see if they're willing to help you out, get to your temporary visa leading to permanent residency or direct permanent residency.
Regardless whether you're in Australia or outside of Australia, if you have 2 years work experience, you can apply for 482. But if you have minimum of 3 years work experience with a skill assessment under your nominated occupation, then you can apply for permanent residency directly under 186 direct entry criteria. You only need IELTS 6 for that too. 6
so
in
this
each band.
could be pretty good news for our offshore applicants, because the applicant, I actually spoke to a few of them who found us, actually was in different countries, India, Malaysia, Singapore. They were working for Australian employers already. These companies are big companies, and by looking at this priority migration list, you can see that that is the demand, which means it's really hard to find local employees for these visas.
We get to talk to a lot of Singapore, Hong Kong, Malaysia-based companies who's already having their subsidiary companies, so they have an extended arm in Australia already. So there might be a option for you that way. Or we get to talk to a lot of Dubai-based clients, especially in advanced manufacturing, infrastructure, and digitech sectors.
Thinking Mario.
Yeah.
The
Can
mic.
we press that button on the
It's
mic?
no longer doing it.
Not blink. Like it's on now.
Hope you can hear us again. We just had a bit of a technical issue with the microphone.
So we were talking about Tasmania. I think we will resume the talk.
So if you're experiencing any of these, please keep us in the loop, or do let us know.
Yep.
Thank you for informing us again. So out of these 3,300 occupation lists, we're going to have 500 occupations listed for offshore clients. So if you're currently not in Australia, these general skill migration
500 places. Yeah.
So it won't be granted straight away in one hit. So they said it'll be granted throughout the year. So if you looking at these opportunities, the best way to look into it is go check out your occupation if it's in Tasmanian skill occupation list. I'm not that good, though I don't have a picture memory to tell you all the occupations. There are really good occupation, and it's an extended list from most of the other states. So if your occupation is in one of those, and if you have substantial points, and if you think you're an outstanding applicant, you can get ready. I think it's time for you to put up a skill assessment and get ready for this program. If you like to hear more about this, or if you like to join the program, we would like you to send us an email or be in touch if you need our support. So as usual, one of the most highlighted point, other than offshore applications from Tasmania, is they now invite Section 48 applicants. So if you had a Section 48 bar, by having a visa refusal in a non-substantial visa or a visa cancellation while you're in Australia, there were no state accepting applications for general skill migration program before. So Tasmania now invites people, accept people who's got this condition. However, you need to demonstrate that you have the ability to go offshore and come back, and what's your plan on there. Most of the other details are very similar. There are few changes in terms of they still have the same sort of categories under 190 and 491. There are extended study requirements if you're in Tasmania, and also if you're going through category A with the graduate stream, now you're required to show for 491 at least for 40 weeks studies in Tasmania, or for 190 you need to be at least enrolled in Tasmania for 92 weeks. And they also look at your commitment, whether your partners, if they're living in Tasmania or any other state, etc. So
it's a genuine commitment they're looking for. They don't want people just to go to Tasmania to get the nomination from there and then leave. They're looking at long-term benefits for Tasmania for giving the nominations for people, and also Tasmanian business visa.
That's the last one.
Okay,
Yeah.
you're going to talk about it
Correct.
separately?
So
okay.
That's
Just want to add a point to Tasmanian graduate stream.
Mhm.
You don't need a job for, if you're a Tasmanian graduate, you may be able to get the nomination without a job.
however, it will be an added benefit if you
That's
have a job offer from an established job
But it's not
employer.
a must.
It's not a must.
Mm.
So there is a lot to go in detail about this. We'll do a separate video itself.
Yeah.
The option 2 for working people, you need to have Tasmania work category. You need to have a job offer for 6 months in there. So one of the other updates also, if you're currently in a 482 visa, and looking to participate to get into 190 or 491 through skill migration, then you need to get a consent from your employer. This is just to the explanation from Tasmanian government on this was they don't want to jeopardize your
employers'
agreements,
investment or what they've
or
put
agreements
into
or their
you.
protocols.
Yeah.
So they would have spent a lot of time and energy and effort to get you there under a certain visa with certain commitment. So if you're going to get released from those commitments, they would like to see the employer's release or employer's consent to say that they are aware of you applying. So it doesn't have to show anything substantial in there. Family visa, there's category 4, there's not much changes there, but business visa, small business owner, they're now looking for 6 months operation before you can apply, and 53,900 still applies for 190. So if you open a business while you're studying or after studying and start a business operated for 6 months, then you can apply for 491 small business owner category under category 4 as well, category 5, right, in Tasmanian skill migration. So
and they also did mention that they're not looking for recycling businesses.
So they don't want they don't want you to go and just buy a business and use it for 6 months and then pass it on to another applicant to apply for the same business. They do look for proper businesses, as in whether you have a presence in there, physical presence in there, not with a displayable boards, etc. Unless you really don't need it. They do not expect you. If they just look, the government's looking for a genuine business, and the government also said, even though they're not supportive too much towards virtual businesses, but if you're currently operating an online business, and if you do not really require physical presence, they suggested you do not have to go just lease or rent or buy a premise just to suit the business requirement. You just need to explain it better in the term sheets or the expression of interest. So out of most of the states, Tasmania's got a wonderful program. Especially there are lots of benefits for people who are currently studying and also going to be studying. Under 190 and 491 category 1 Tasmanian graduate program, they have two options to process your application, whether you started your studies after 1st of July or this year, or before 1st of July this last year. So they will still honor the certain protocols they had back in the days. Going into detail, it's going to take a lot of time. So if you need further information in relation to any of these categories or Tasmanian skill migration, let us know. One other really good thing Tasmania's mentioned is, if you apply for 491 visa, which is a 5-year provisional visa which allows you to apply for 191 permanent residency pathway after 3 years, even if you apply for 491 and if you have high eligibilities, high caliber, then they will invite you for 190, and vice versa. If you apply for 190 and if you not qualified, they won't just chuck your application away. They will consider you under 491 as well, which is very good news. But if you're applying from offshore, and if you're trying to get into one of those 500 opportunities, they would like to see your commitment to Tasmania. So they would like you to in skill select, just select Tasmania for you to get an application. So this is a glimpse shot or a summary of Tasmanian migration programs for 2021-22. Should you have any questions, please be in touch with us through admin@sirus.com.au or call us from one of those numbers. As I said earlier, we are in lockdown, so if there's any delays, pick up the phone and call us, and we'll respond to you as soon as we can. Or if you're in Melbourne, just come by. We're right next to Swinburne University, so we'll have a chat and help you wherever we can.
Yep. Now I think I will talk about New South Wales briefly, and I'm not going to talk about the criteria from Home Affairs, which you have to have competent English, under 45, you need to have a skills assessment, or they are the basic minimum requirement.
This applies for any state,
Yes.
Whether you go to New South Wales, Tasmania, or wherever. And then you need to have at least 65 points by yourself to go to 190, or 50 by yourself to go to 491.
Yeah. But what I will talk about is the requirements set by New South Wales.
Yeah.
So for 190, it's pretty straightforward. But now they're talking about, if you want to apply for 190, you need to be working in a target sector. So the target sectors are managers, professionals, technicians and trade, community and personal service. Under these sectors, there are many occupations. It's actually a pretty good list. For example, accountants there, auditors there, enrolled nurse is there. Most states only invite registered nurse, but even the enrolled nurse is there.
That's a very good one. You only need a diploma.
Yes, and also you still need the IELTS 7 in each and registration, but the main requirement
Academic
is
requirement.
a diploma. And then technicians and trades, all the trades are there. Hairdresser is there, chefs there, cooks there, motor mechanics there, floor tilers there. So there are good range of occupations.
Yeah.
So for you to get a 190 in New South Wales, the requirement is you need to be working in one of these occupations. They don't mention for how long. So it could be, you just went there and started work and you're still eligible to lodge an expression of interest. Or the other requirement is you need to be genuinely living in New South Wales for 3 months, even if you don't have a job. But if you have both, then obviously you will get more consideration. So that is the criteria for 190. Now I will go through the criteria for 491. 491
Just
has
a quick addition in there, Ashani, before we go into the next point. We have certain clients who are already in New South Wales. Their resident requirement, they didn't have a resident requirement before. Right now they do have a resident requirement. Earlier there was no minimum requirement, so as long as they were in New South Wales they could have done it. So they were a bit worried, what's going to happen to my ROI. We did just before I've only got 1 month. So the answer for this question is you only you're not qualified right now, but you can go through the next invitation round when you fulfill the 3 months. So it's not going to a waste.
That's if you don't have a job though. But
Yeah.
if you're working, there is no minimum stay requirement.
Correct.
It's one or the other.
Yeah.
And for 190 there is no ROI. You just lodge your EOI and then you wait for your invitation. Now I will go through the 491, which has 3 streams. Stream 1, I really like it, very straightforward. This is living and working in New South Wales, and it has quite a big list of occupations as well. So you just need to make sure that you have a skills assessment in one of the nominated occupations, and you're living and working in there for 12 months.
Yeah.
So that's very simple. That is your requirement. The only additional step to 190 is you need to go and lodge ROI, register your interest, and then you need to wait for the invitation. So that's the next step for 190 other than for 491 other than 190. Now I will talk about the stream 2, which is I have recently completed my study in regional New South Wales. So for this you need to still hold a valid skills assessment for that occupation that's in the region that you're going to nominate. and you need to make sure that you have completed your education with an education provider where the study was completed within the last 2 years, and the education provider is in a designated regional area of New South Wales, and you do meet the Australian study requirement that is determined by Home Affairs.
Yeah.
And the qualification obtained from this study was assessed as closely related to your nominated occupation by the relevant assessing authority, which means you pretty much need a skills assessment obtained from that qualification that you studied in New South Wales. So that is the stream 2, still very straightforward for people who studied in regional New South Wales.
So if you studied accounting, they're looking for an accountant's skill assessment, not a customer service or a sales and marketing skills assessment.
Yeah. And then you need to make sure that that occupation is in the nominated region's occupation list. And the stream 3 is for people who are anywhere in Australia. So you don't have to be living and working in New South Wales. I don't know how many places that they have allocated this or who they will pick, but still there is a stream. So it's really good news for people who are in these occupations working in other parts of Australia. Could be Victoria, could be other states that are quite demanded to get your invitation from. So you can always lodge an expression of interest or register your interest to New South Wales from other parts of Australia. You don't need to move there, and you just have to wait for an invitation. So the requirement for this is hold a valid skills assessment for an occupation that appears on your nominated region's occupation list, and then be currently residing in an Australian state or territory. Doesn't necessarily have to be New South Wales. So it is worth looking at this list as well. The list is again not as big as the other list, but still it's a pretty good list. If you want to look at it. Again, 4 major sectors: managers, professionals, technicians and trade workers, community and personal service workers. So I hope you understand the simple, I just put it in a very simple way, the New South Wales criteria for 190 and also the 491. If you don't understand this, or if you want us to further look at your case to see if you're eligible for New South Wales, again, get in touch with us. We have few registered migration agents who can help you with that.
Wonderful news. That's mostly the we can talk for days about this skill migration lists. There's lots of good news these days, and we can see things are opening up slowly to offshore candidates as well, which is wonderful news for people who's been asking. It came up sooner than we expected. We always had a hope for offshore candidates that there'll be an opportunity. So if you're an offshore candidate looking for general skill migration, and if you've been waiting for long, I think if you believe you have good points, Ashani's done a wonderful video in YouTube. If you go Sirus Migration points table explanation, there's a good video that explains every way that you can calculate all your points by yourself, or if you went to our website
also has
we have a points table calculator as well. Count your points. If you're in good points, if you believe you can be competitive, there might be good opportunities for you through these skill migration options under states right now. So
actually our next 2 topics are open for offshore applicants anyway.
Oh yes. Now we put a step into the offshore market. Now we putting a whole figure out to whether you're offshore or onshore. Next topic's not going to be there's no affecting. Yeah. There'll be more. There's no restriction whether you're offshore or onshore for these visa categories. We're going to talk about business visas now. Especially we'll be talking about 188 business visa categories. Yeah, Marielle. Yeah. So I've done a bit of a cheat sheet for everyone. So because every day I talk about these visas, this is a bit of a cheat sheet for 188 visa from previous requirements to latest one. These are the latest requirements. 188. If you're currently running a business and if you'd like to extend your business or if you want to establish it in Australia, you may mostly consider 188A visa category. You can be in the age category between 18 to 55, most likely 23 to 55, because you need to demonstrate a business history of at least 5 years. So I'd say 23 to 55. In certain cases, we can go beyond 55 a little bit too, depending on your...
Actually, I would like to put something there. You don't really have to have the 4 years business experience. So as long as it's not a mandatory requirement. So as long as, let's say someone started an online business and it went really well, because these days these businesses doesn't sometimes take that long to turn it into $1 million business or $1 billion business. That's the market, right?
Correct.
So let's say you started something 2 years ago and then it went really well, and 2 years down the track you only have 2 financial statements, but you are making a lot of money and you can still make 65 points on your own. We can put a really good business case together. You do not need to have that 4 to 5 years big business history.
But then again, you need to be at least 18 years old to be joining this one. So if you don't have to be 23, then you can be 18. So it depends on your business history and your value, etc. So the investment requirement varies. There's no set. You need to put 100,000, 200,000, 300. It varies from state to state.
Yes.
You will be getting a 5-year visa. And then if you couldn't fulfill your permanent residency requirements, you can further extend for 2 years. Major changes, you need to have asset value of 1.25 million minimum. That's an asset between yourself, your partner and your business. You need to have minimum assets of Australian dollars 1.25 million, and your business turnover has to be minimum of $750,000. That used to be $500,000 earlier. So if you can show that you had 2 years of $750,000 minimum business turnover, then you can be part of it.
Yep.
And as Ashani said earlier, it goes as a point tested program. You need to have minimum of 65 points by yourself. Don't get confused with the point test. That is applicable for a general skill migration. This is a totally different points test.
Yep, you do not need to have English or any educational background. As long as you can meet the points and you're a successful business person, you will be eligible.
So today I'm going to talk a little bit more about, because we talk about 188A business innovation category all the time, I would like to talk about 188B visa. Again, if you are one of our clients who have already applied for EOI and received your EOI, and you're currently applied for your visa, please do not panic or hesitate. You're still being subject. You will be subject to the old 188B requirement. So if you're one of those clients who's expecting to invest $1.5 million into government bonds, you can still do it. This is only applicable for clients who is put in their application for expression of interest after 1st of July to applicable states. So now if you do not have a business experience, or if you do not want to go through all these paperwork of showing your turnovers, etc., you can always choose an investment pathway depending on your investment experience. So what you need for this is you need to invest minimum of $2.5 million into Australia. And
the next slide.
And it's not government bonds anymore. So this is again a 5-year visa. After 3 years of having the investment into it, you have the you'll be eligible to apply for
permanent residency through subclass 888. Yes.
So complying investment has to be 2.5 million, 65 points, functional English only. you need to be under 55, reside in Australia for at least 2 years out of these 5 years, has to be nominated by a territory or a government. Now, if I've done the investment part, this is a bit more complicated now than the 1.5 million government bonding. So I just wanted to explain this a little bit more and show you. And this is pretty much similar to a significant investor, but the investment requirement is a lot lower. If we go to the next slide. So this 2.5 million, you don't put it into one place straight away. You divide it into 3 sections. You need to put 20% of minimum of 20% of your 2.5 million, which is $500,000, so $500,000, towards venture capital and private equity, VCPE, and 30% of it minimum should go to 0.75 or $750,000 should go into small caps or small capital in businesses. Balancing can go through in other various investments. That's 1.25 million. There are certain restrictions how much you can invest in real estate development, etc., because a lot of people love that, and it's not the encouragement through this. So it doesn't have to be 2.5 million. It can go more if you want to increase venture capital, private equity to 1 million. You can do it, but minimum of so then if you go 1 million into venture capital, then you have to that increasing by $500,000. Then you have to increase the minimum requirement by $500,000 as well to make it 3 million. So minimum requirement is 2.5. You can go more than that, and if you hit 5 million, then you can.
I would stick to 2.5 and then do separate investments of real estate.
Yeah, no, it depends. There's the requirements for 888 for minimum stay in Australia is a lot lower for significant investor. If you invest $5 million, and if you have a major business interests outside and you want to keep your family in Australia as a safe place, and if you want to continue traveling around the world or be in Hong Kong or China or Sri Lanka or wherever is your main business, you can continue to do that if you go into $5 million and your minimum stay in Australia is a lot lower. If you like to learn a bit more about these business visa requirements, and if you like to learn, if you want to see if you're eligible, we can help you through any of the 188 categories, 188 A, B, C, or E.
We offer free consultations to all our 188 prospective clients if you're onshore or offshore, and we give roughly about 45 minutes consultation. What we do, we normally ask you to first give us some information about you, the key information we need to properly assess your profile. So when you come to the meeting, we know more about you, so we can actually put a plan together for you. So that's what we do in our initial consultation. We know how much assets you have, we know what's your turnover, what's your expectations, what your family is like. So we go through with you and design the perfect, whether it's 188 A, B, or C. And we also help you. If you don't have enough points, we can help you and give tips to increase your points. So that first appointment, the free consultation, is not really knowing about you. We already know about you when we go there. What we do in there is actually plan what visa we are going to apply for you and give you tips and take you forward from there, isn't it?
So the actual meeting can be a lot more productive, and you can achieve end goal or a plan moving forward rather than looking for a second appointment.
Yeah.
So let's we're nearly towards the end of the last topic, global talent independent visa. There's you know about global talent independent visa. I've been talking about it, yes, Mario, a lot. So these are the target sectors. If you're working in one of these target sectors, then if you're
either earning high income
by
or
158,500 Australian dollars or more, or if you have a job offer in Australia
yeah, or a recent PhD graduate of one of these sectors
with global exposure,
yeah,
and a nominator.
That's right. And this nominator has to be an Australian permanent resident, citizen, or an eligible New Zealander. You can't have people from offshore nominating you for this visa. Actual
Australian
sectors.
company.
Yes, it could be an Australian company as well. The actual sectors hasn't changed, but the actual application when we fill online
Process
has changed a lot. Now they are asking a lot more information about your nominator. So they are focusing a lot on the nominator, and they are asking why the nominator is, why do you believe they're high in their sector, and what are their achievements, that kind of things. And also they are asking about links where they can find information about you. So that shows us the program is getting stricter, and they're looking into you more before giving you an invitation. And they're also looking into your nominator's credibility as well, not just yours. So they are trying to pick the best of the best for the program.
Yes. So certain applications, this is a fast track permanent residency pathway for global exposure people with prominence in certain target sectors as displayed here. So if you have global talents or global awards and rewards and publications and talents that you can display in global market, then you can be part of this program, and you can achieve your permanent residency lot for yourself and your family lot faster than most of the other visas. If within the Global Talent Independent Program itself, there are priority sectors and non-priority sectors. If you're in priority sectors and if you're a high-profile, highly talented person, we've seen the applications getting processed fairly quickly.
Also, the EOI is getting granted within days or weeks.
Yeah.
But if you fall under the general queue, they are currently processing the application. I just got an email today saying they are currently processing the applications from October 2020. So they are quite behind on the general queue. But if you're highly talented and if they believe that you're one of those exceptional people, you will get an invitation real quick.
Yeah. So that's pretty much most of the information that we wanted to inform you. We can talk for days. As I said, general skill migration in Australia has got a lot of options come up available, and there are lots of updates. Also, I wanted to highlight talking with
Mario, let's go to the questions.
State migration migration discussions these days. Something that everyone discussed is please try not to come up with fraud documents. They are now referring any fraudulent application to federal government, and then you might be subject to harsher restrictions like 40/20, 40/10, etc. So you won't be able to apply for another visa for a restricted time period. So there are always right ways, and if you do it right, there'll be lots of opportunities as well, and that's where we're here to guide you and get you more information. So if you have any questions in relation to these sectors, please be in touch, and we will support you wherever we can.
So we will take the next 10 minutes to answer the questions. Okay, a few people are saying they can't hear us. Sorry guys, we did have a technical error, and then suddenly our voices were lost, but we didn't talk during the time. We figured it out. So I don't think you've missed anything there. I've got Jomon saying, Jomon George saying, I've been doing online study since October 2020 from India. Am I eligible to claim regional study points? I think we've talked about it few times.
You need to be in a subclass 500 visa already with a COE from institute or a university from regional Australia. So for an example, if you're doing from studying from Queensland, if you're enrolled in Southern Cross University or University of Southern Queensland,
which
or
is
Sunshine
located
Coast.
in regional areas, then you can.
Yeah.
I've got Rohit asking 2 questions. One is, I think Rohit joined us last week as
Welcome
well.
back, Rohit.
482, after the nomination, how long does it take to get the visa granted? And also he's asking, can I apply for 186 after 482? So you're a chef as well. So the second question, yes, you
Where
can
does it say
apply
chef?
for 186 offshore as a chef from India.
Ah.
Apply for 186 direct entry, yes, as long as you have the requirements, you have the skill assessment, you can apply for 186 direct entry anytime. And also please, the processing time, normally my applicants, if we lodge them decision ready, visa actually comes just minutes after the nomination most of the time, unless if they're missing something from your side, like your police clearances or some of the forms from your side. Normally it's straight after the nomination. So if you haven't got it already, get your migration agent to follow up with the team. The processing team is really good. They're really good at getting back to us and replying to our emails. So you can write an email
And
to them.
chef also is in PMS, or Priority Migration Skill Occupation List. So it'll be processed in a priority manner, so faster than a normal occupation as well.
Yeah. And I've got
Gaitan Fabrice, sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Thank you for complimenting us for a nice show. Willing to know what are the possibilities for PhD students medicine from University of Sydney gain PR. Also, what is the possibility for applying for PR before graduation from university?
One of the things I can think about would be Global Talent Independent Visa if you have recently completed your PhD. Or I would suggest you go for the subclass 485 and explore your options for general skill migration.
It allows you 5 years.
That's right. This would be a good time to make an appointment with a registered migration agent to plan your PR pathway.
Because with the 485 you get 5 years visa, and with this you can start looking for a job opportunity as well.
Yeah, I've got status saying when is the borders are opening and bringing people over. Well, borders are currently closed, but not for everybody. Some people can get into Australia depending on their visa subclass and depending on their relationship to Australia. But most of the people cannot, unfortunately, and we really don't know exactly when the borders will open. All right. So let's move to the next one. When will Queensland open? Very good question. We are also
we were thinking about talking about it under general skill migration.
We are waiting for it as well.
Matter of
maybe next
days,
week or week after, very soon.
They indicated that they in opening most likely this week, but we're going through a strict lockdown. So hopefully next week.
Yeah.
Or it could be next week after, but it is good now. We know there are going to be lots of good opportunities. So if rather than waiting for the borders to open, the applications to open, I think you should consider looking at if you got the skill assessment ready and most of the other requirements ready. So as soon as they open, you can push the buttons like your residential requirement, just in case if they come up with it, etc. So if you need some support in this, be in touch. We currently run a really good promotion for general skill migration applicants as well. We do no invitation, no fee promotion, where if you do not get an invitation, we will refund you all the professional fees that we charge.
And this is only for Queensland, guys. So this is if you're living in Queensland right now and working in Queensland. And we've got Namita saying, do we have to live in regional New South Wales under stream 3 491? No, you don't have to be living in regional New South Wales for 491. You could be living in anywhere in Australia, as long as your occupation is going to be in that list where you're going to nominate. I've got status. Tell about borders, why they're granting visa.
So if you're a student, they grant the visa, so they can currently keep on studying. So they can still gain the 485 visa right after their studies and etc. But it is not federal government. So I know it sounds like it's not Immigration Department of Home Affairs rules the border restrictions. They only patrol it. It's a federal government and state government's decision whether they accept any offshore people to fly in. So until they allow it, I don't think they will. I mean, Home Affairs can pick who's coming and who's eligible to come and who's eligible to come into these programs, but it's not their decision to decide whether these guys can travel in this. With the COVID, everything's different, unfortunately.
I'm actually going to answer 2 questions from Facebook. I've got Gopinder Singh asking, is it necessary there is valid PT for again processing reissue of subclass 500 for same course because of reissue COE in same University of Tasmania due to COVID-19? I can defer my semester by leave of absence. Not necessarily. I need to know which country you're from, because some countries, even though the university doesn't need it, sometimes the immigration needs it. But if you have studied a certain amount of your course, then you don't need to show English again. So let me know more details, then I can tell you exactly whether you're going to need English or not. I've got Kirigan asking, hi there, which is the best way to travel through either 482, then apply for 186, or 482, then 190? And once 186 is granted, how long do we need to stay with the employer, or else is it possible to leave the employer once 186 visa is granted?
Good broad question.
It's a really good question actually. 482 to 186 is the general path that we normally take, but I know that there are many people who are on 482 who's eligible for 182, 190. Nothing bad about trying 190. If you get 190, then it's really good, because that way you don't have any commitment to one employer. With 482 and possibly 186, 482 has a much larger commitment to your employer. 186 also has a small commitment to your employer. If you can get 190, I think that would be the best option for you as a person. But then if not, 186 is the next best option from my point of view. To answer your second question, once the 186 is granted, the expectation is for you to be with the employer for at least 2 years. But it's not a must. 186 is permanent residency, comes with no conditions. I've got Rohin asking, what about Queensland update? I think we already discussed about it. There's nothing yet. We are also waiting. We'll be one of the first ones to tell you about it.
Yeah, I guess so. Gurinda's country is India.
Okay, so if you're from India, tell us how much of the course you have completed, whether it's 50% or if it's a package course. Have you at least completed a cert 3 or 4? Then most likely you don't need PTE. Also, you don't need the English score to lodge a student visa. If you lodge it without PTE, the department will ask you to sit for it and they will hold the visa. So you don't have to delay it because of English. Get it lodged, and then when you can sit for PTE, you can do that.
PTE and IELTS got 3 lifetime, so
for student visas actually 3 years, right?
Yeah,
not 2 years.
I know in the PTE result sheet it says valid only for 2 years, but for Australian migration purposes, it is valid for 3 years.
I think since we are running out of time, we just pick some questions.
I'm going to take a welcome back, Warren. Thank you for joining again. I'm gonna take a plane one day and go to far north Queensland and look for a job for you under 491 with 70 points. Well, let's look for a Dharma job occupation anyway, so that'll be a much better option for you. I can't remember your age though. If you're age over 45, then Dharma is the only option, but 70 points, yeah, you're pushing.
So thank you, Warren. We will Yeah, we know you. As soon as we see an opportunity, we will get back to you. I've got Manikant asking, can I apply for either 190 or 49 while I'm pursuing masters? Some states don't give you invitation unless you have full-time work rights. But if you can find a state who's going to give you the nomination without full-time work rights, then yes, of course, you can go ahead and apply. I've got Sai asking, living in regional New South Wales, 85 points on PMSOL. Good on you. Is 491 stream 3 better or 190? You don't need to go for 491 stream 3 because if you're already... I think I lost the question, Mario.
After warrant.
Down, I think. Right? Oh, yeah, there you are. Stream 3 better. Or 190 better option. Actually, so you're not... I think you go for both 190 and 491 and they will decide which one. Even 190 if your occupation is in PMSOL.
Captain, we will post it, and also it's the information for Indian office is in website as well. So if you go to www.sirusmigration.com.au, under the contact list you can find it. Thank you. Otherwise, Mario, would you mind typing that in as well?
We'll actually go down a little bit so we can pick a few questions that nobody has asked so far. Okay, any reason why on hand Aussie government is pushing for 188B visa but they take forever to process? That's a very good question. These days it takes a long time for processing. Hopefully they will do something about it and start processing the applications quicker. We have experience for my clients whose applications got granted within a year, which is excellent. They're already here. So hopefully that will happen to most of the other people who are waiting.
It just depends. It's you need to look into all aspects of the requirements, and if you present it well and present it with all the information needed, then I guess the decision maker it is a straightforward direct answer. So just to update your medical and further information, so they can make a quicker decision than normal. So
yeah, I've got Naveen asking, hi sir, madam, one employer is ready to sponsor visa after I clear the interview. What's next? So the next thing is make an appointment with me. Then I will tell you in detail what happens to go through the 482, because you will need to then discuss with your employer about their part of the 482, and then possibly I need to speak to, or any migration agent need to speak to the employer to clear that part. We will put our contact details in there. Mario will help me with that, so you can get in touch with me to make an appointment. Okay, can you go down Mario? I would like to see the questions. Keep going down. Hold on. Okay. All right. Someone's Philip's asking, hi there, do you think there'll be any chances to get an invitation as ICT business analyst with 75 points in New South Wales? Thanks a lot. I think so. Depending on where you live in New South Wales, and make sure that occupation is on one of the lists, and you can apply under one of the categories. Again, get in touch with us. We will assess the full case and help you lodge an expression of interest. Can you please go down again? Let's pick some questions.
Sorry if we're missing your...
yeah, so we are kind of avoiding the questions that people always ask as well.
For 186 visa, 2 years of overseas experience before masters and 2 years experience after. Will it satisfy 3 years experience? 186. So watch YouTube. So we don't know your name. Good question. You said 2 years experience before masters, so I assume your 2 years experience is after your bachelor's, which then can be counted towards your direct entry, but it depends on your occupation requirement. So
most occupations only need a bachelor's degree. So if it's a bachelor's degree, then your experience after the bachelor's degree can count towards your direct entry. But worst comes to us, if you need a master's, then the experience beforehand cannot be counted for 186 direct entry.
And Udara, yes, for you to be able to apply through 190 or 491 Tasmanian migration option, you definitely need to have your occupation listed in TSOL, and you need to show your high points as well to compete.
Watch YouTube is saying it's in PMSOL, it's developer programmer.
So,
yes, so for that you actually need a bachelor's degree. So if you had your work experience after the bachelor's degree, then we can count that.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today. Unfortunately, we missed some questions again, but hope in overall we answered most of your questions. We believe that last bit of questions all got covered earlier. We would love to answer as many questions as possible. We have already gone past 1 hour, and that's double the time we allocated for this program, but it is always our pleasure to answer as many questions as possible, to share our knowledge with you and give you the latest updates in Australian immigration requirements and latest updates. Thank you very much for joining us. If you haven't clicked that subscribe button yet, click the subscribe button, hit the like button, and support us through that way. And we enjoy having your company throughout the session. With the pandemic, stay safe. Don't travel if it is not really necessary. Hopefully Queensland will come out of this very soon. We all have our thoughts with extended lockdown in New South Wales. They've been locked down for months now. It is not a joke. It's
homeschooling is not funny, guys.
I enjoy my kids. So all right, God bless everyone. Thank you. See you. Bye-bye.
Next week.
See you next week at 3 p.m.